Alright, here's the deal. I couldn't decide what controller I wanted to use for fighting games. There were the three main options I was considering, I'm sure you could guess what they were. I was stuck between wanting to use like a standard PS4 pad, a DDR dance pad, or the Resident Evil 4 Chainsaw GameCube controller. But after learning no one has won EVO with either of those last two options, I decided to look at the more traditional stuff. The average fighting game enjoyer will likely be using one of three main controller types: the default pad, the arcade fight stick, or the ever-controversial all-button Hitbox style controller. And because I couldn't make a decision on which one to use, I'm just gonna learn all of them. I started my FGC journey on the standard, like, normal guy controller. Just a stock DualShock 4, nothing fancy. FGC people like to call these controllers pads. Using the D-pad is almost universally accepted as a more precise way of inputting stuff over the joystick on your controller. And then pad is just a shortening of the word D-pad, because us fighting game players can only understand monosyllabic words. Pad players actually make up the majority of the FGC, and I don't think it's really too hard to fathom why that is. Everyone and their third cousin has a controller like this. They're cheap, they're accessible, and you can take them with you anywhere you go. All that being said, it's not without its downsides. Oh yeah, earlier I called it a stock DualShock 4. That's actually not true. I did have one mod installed. It's called the faulty charging port mod. Basically, if I tilted my controller the wrong way or like at a weird angle while playing, it would just straight up disconnect my controller from the game, which is just plain rude if you ask me. Also, every time I got disconnected, the music would stop playing too. Like, it wasn't enough to make me lose control of my character and lose the game, but you gotta take away the music in the middle too. It's just awkward, like this part of the video. I eventually got tired of my controller constantly doing social experiments on me, so I went ahead and switched over to a Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and this let me have control of my character for the entirety of the match, at the price of a slightly worse quality D-pad. This D-pad didn't have any rounded corners, so my thumb would end up being sore after like 10 overdrive inputs. And that's not necessarily a problem with the design of the controller, I might just have baby hands or something. It's the controller I used in that Strive video that got way too many views, and it was after uploading that video that I started to get curious about the other kinds of controllers people used. At this point, I'd never actually seen or touched an actual arcade fight stick or hitbox style controller. I was really curious about hitboxes in specific, so to try out this controller style, I ended up using my keyboard to play Guilty Gear for another 24 hours. I already made a video about it, so I won't get into it here. In short, I really preferred the keyboard over the gamepad. The biggest reason for this was precision. I almost never got accidental inputs on the keyboard, and I really can't say the same for D-pad. I feel like I'm going to be talking about the other kinds of controllers a lot more than pad, and it's not because pad is worse, it's just more boring to talk about, but they're in my opinion the most logical controller choice of the three. And speaking of logic, or maybe the lack thereof, I impulse purchased two Mayflash F300 fight sticks. So fight sticks are kind of the offspring of the arcade cabinet. Back in the day, the only way you could even play a fighting game was on a cabinet like this. And before the advent of home consoles, the first few generations of the FGC learned how to play these games exclusively on these machines. But once gaming jumped over to home consoles, things started to change up a little bit in the controller world. You were no longer required to know how to use a joystick to play fighting games. You could just use the default controller that came with your console. But some players didn't feel like suddenly abandoning hundreds and hundreds of hours and quarters spent learning the way of the lever. So these players started to build or buy controllers that emulated that cabinet experience, and thus, the fight stick building scene was born. By the way, if I got any of that info wrong, I was basically a zygote at the time, so give me a break, alright? The question is though, what about all that made me want to get one? I didn't live through the American arcade era, and I'm fairly certain my area didn't even have one of those to begin with. I have zero nostalgic attachment to this controller style. I just think it's really cool. I got two of them for couch multiplayer as well, and I'm really glad I did. I've gotten quite a range of people to try these out. Mostly casual fighting game players, or even people who've never touched a fighting game in their life. And they would pick up the fight stick and start to understand how to use it relatively quickly. The more people I had try them out, the more impressed I became with just how intuitive these controllers are. You really can almost like draw an input with the stick. As soon as you understand that the joystick can move in a full circle, once you see that full circle, I feel like it's it's pretty easy to intuit how to do a quarter of that circle or a half of that circle. These controllers are great for some non-fighting games as well. I mean, I played through all of Pizza Tower on my Mayflash and even got all the P ranks on the first floor with it. It honestly plays really well on an arcade stick. I can't really see myself ever using a normal controller for this game again, and without getting too sidetracked, Pizza Tower is an absolute gem. Go play Pizza Tower, don't watch this dog shit. And I know some of you out there would say that budget fight sticks aren't worth it.
It is actually trash. The reason why is that I bought it from a garage sale. I bought that literally it did not work. I plugged it in, you know how you hear the doo-doo? It did not work. That means I bought a broken ass stick. So that was my experience. So clearly I hate it because it didn't work. So I'm going to put M-Flash F300 into trash.
So yeah guys, one time I found a Mayflash on the side of the road. It was missing a ball top and somebody had actually sharded onto the PCB. But I plugged it in and it didn't work. So Mayflash, more like gay trash. Extremely lowbrow humor aside, I actually really enjoy both of my sticks. And that could be attributed to me having never tried a high quality stick. I don't really have the knowledge or experience to be picky about the brand of the lever or the shape of the gate. Whether or not it's a ball top or a bat top, that stuff really doesn't matter to me. I think these controllers are just genuinely a blast to use, even though they're the controller I had the least experience with. I mean, I've been using a PlayStation pad since Rayman 1 on the PS1, and I practiced a Hitbox style layout on my keyboard for months before I actually went and built mine. Spoilers. But joystick is really unique. There really isn't anything comparable. There are two main reasons I think someone should use an arcade stick over another controller. The number one reason is nostalgia, and the number two reason is fun. I feel like the fun aspect shouldn't be undersold here. There's no inherent advantages to using stick. It won't suddenly make you a better player if you switch to one, but there's absolutely a fun factor to consider here. It just feels good in a way I really can't put into words. I took this video at my first local to show you guys what someone who actually knows what they're doing with one of these looks like. Dude, these Tekken players are on something else. Look at this dude go.
Who's next? Who wants in on this shit? I don't play this game.
Another huge reason I got into fight sticks was the customizability of them. I know that's not very obvious to the eye since my fight stick is still like naked basically. I haven't added in any art or new components to it yet. During my research, I stumbled across this YouTube channel called HushMySweet. This channel just showed me how insane these controllers can get. This channel opened my mind to the idea of a controller being a showpiece. Fight sticks are just a great way to express yourself and the kind of player you are. I mean, one of the coolest parts of my first local was just getting to go around and look at everybody's controllers. It was like a turbo nerd version of like a car meetup, that's what it felt like. After watching a bunch of Hush's videos, I finally decided that instead of buying a stock Hitbox and modding it later, I was just gonna build it from scratch. So that's what I did.
We're playing randoms.
We are?
Oh, we're doing random? Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, everyone was doing random. They just said that I could play my main because I'm literally floor 4.
I picked pod.
But the issue is you know
match already started.
Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. After you whose last is doomed, he's the worst known. That'll have your boom blown or either thirst bone. Rockets won't burst, clone, just don't curse the grown. On his own microphone, bring it everywhere he go, so he could bring it to you live in stereo. Panic, can't understand it, ban it. The underhanded ran it, planned it, and left him stranded. The best, any who profess will be remanded. Yes sir, request permission to be candid, granted. I don't think we can handle a style so rancid. He flipped it like Matter, did the old jazz standard. Don't mind me, I wrote this rhyme lightly over 2 or 3 heinies, and boy was they fine, G. One black, one Spanish, one Chinese. It keeps the woody shiny year round like a pine tree. Don't sign me, about to get a mill without him. Crowd him off the shelf, he's the villain.
This is honestly really intuitive.
So, and he's a jerk and you don't know him. Mad how he expand work but won't show him. Poor guys, what a sight for old sore 4 eyes. Now hook me with 2 apple pies and a small fries. All rise.
Let's go.
So far odd as a ruple. So raw, break it down
keys.
to make quadruple. It's crucial, you can see it in his pupil. And this time when he get it, he waste it on something useful. Like getting juice off a juice of coke. Keep it low key, known to pull a okie dokie. Silly goose, doom is too jokey. Damn, he could really use a room or a whole key. Egads, she got enough styles to start 3 fads. True that, she bad, I wonder do she come with knee pads. What a call, what a real butterball. Either I get a strike or strike out, gunner ball.
I think I like Hitbox. You have cat ears on every character.
Almost. I have cat ears on every single player I've tried to play or play.
You were strange.
Shut up, man. I can do what I want. The mods exist for a reason.
There ain't nothing wrong with being strange.
You are strange. Parentheses derogatory.
Oh! That was sick. Pressing buttons, boy. It's over. I'm a Twitter clip. I'm not a Twitter clip, okay. If you couldn't tell from all that, I love this controller already. I haven't even put very much time into using it yet, but my keyboard training has absolutely paid off. Everything I threw at it just worked instantly. I can see why so many players have switched over to these leverless controllers. I just really like pressing buttons. I really am that easy to please. And these Sanwa buttons are perfect for me. My hands feel totally fine even after long play sessions. At this point, it's absolutely my main controller. I'm definitely gonna learn Street Fighter 6 on this thing, keep an eye out for that video. I think Hitbox and Stick are both super fun in their own way, and I like to hop between them depending on what game I'm playing, cause I enjoy certain things about each controller type. Stick makes every input I do feel super satisfying to execute, but Hitbox gives me so much control over the minute movements of my character. And Pad exists. Like I said before, I don't think pad equals bad or anything, but if you think I'm picking up my Pro controller over the one that I built, you're out of your mind. I thought about closing this video out with a section about the whole cheat box stuff, just a discussion about controller fairness in tournaments. There are people in the FGC who think that Hitbox style controllers are cheating, and that you shouldn't be allowed to use them at any fighting game tournament event. I'm not much of a competitive player, so I'll keep my opinions on this controller politics stuff very brief and concise. Funny button go click clack. If you think banning all hitboxes is either feasible or even a good idea. I think you have flat brain. I officially diagnose you with flat brain as your YouTube doctor. See, the fighting game community isn't all that big when you compare to other genres. We really can't afford to be cutting out any section of the player base, especially everyone who uses hitbox or keyboard. I have the same philosophy on controller choice as I do character choice. Pick whoever you think is cool, and fuck what everyone else says. So I actually hit 2K subscribers since I uploaded last, which is really cool. People always ask what my plans for the channel are moving forward, and I got a pretty easy answer for that. I'm just gonna post what I think is fun to make. And you're invited to watch, if you want. I don't think I'll be running ads on the channel anytime soon. I still haven't monetized it, and I still love using copyrighted songs a little too much. Like I said before, I plan on making a lot of Street Fighter 6 content when it finally comes out. I'm really excited to start grinding out a fighting game on release and not years after the fact. I may also do some non-FGC content soon. I thought it would be fun to do a how good can I get at Counter-Strike in 24 hours kind of video. Let me know down in the comments if you guys would be interested in anything like that. The channel Discord has also been growing substantially every day. It's a really great community full of new and veteran players that are all striving to improve at fighting games together. Bees has even been planning monthly tournaments in there, and those have all been really fun. Anyways, thank you so much for watching till the end of the video. You just listened to a grown man talk about his favorite buttons to press for like 20 minutes.